What if the moon disappeared? Look up at the sky tonight, and you'll see it. The moon. It's been there every single night of your life. You barely think about it. But what if, one day, it just vanished? No explosion. No warning. Just gone. You might think, so what? It's just a rock in the sky. But the moon is doing far more than you realize, right now, while you watch this video. And if it disappeared, life on Earth would change in ways that would shock you. Let's find out exactly what would happen, starting with something you'd notice within hours. The first 24 hours. The very first thing you would notice happens in the ocean. Right now, the moon's gravity is constantly pulling on Earth's oceans. This pull is what creates tides, the rising and falling of sea levels twice a day. If the moon disappeared, most of that pulling force would vanish instantly. Tides wouldn't stop completely. The sun also pulls on our oceans, just much more weakly. But tides would become far smaller and much weaker. This sounds small, but it's actually huge. Millions of people around the world depend on tides for fishing, for shipping, and for coastal ecosystems. Fish that lay eggs based on tide patterns would suddenly be confused. Crabs, clams, and coastal birds that depend on tide cycles to feed would struggle to survive. Next, look up at the night sky. Without the moon, nights would become much, much darker. Right now, even on a cloud-free night, moonlight helps us see outdoors. Without it, nighttime would feel like being inside a cave, pitch black, except for stars. For most people living in cities, this wouldn't matter much, because of artificial lights. But for animals, and for humans living without electricity, night would become far more dangerous and disorienting. Nocturnal animals like owls, foxes, and many insects use moonlight to hunt, move, and find their way. Without it, entire nighttime ecosystems would be thrown into confusion, at least until they adapted, if they even could. Earth starts to wobble. Now here's where things get serious. Most people don't realize this, but the moon does something incredibly important for Earth. It keeps our planet stable. Earth spins on a tilt. Right now, that tilt is about 23.5 degrees. This tilt is the reason we have seasons: summer, winter, spring, and fall. And the moon's gravity is what keeps this tilt steady and balanced. Without the moon, Earth's tilt would no longer be locked in place. Over a long period of time, thousands of years, it could start to wobble. It might tilt only slightly, or it could swing wildly, sometimes almost lying on its side, like the planet Uranus. That if Earth's tilt became unstable, our seasons would become unpredictable and extreme. One year could bring a mild winter. The next could bring a winter so harsh, entire regions would struggle to grow food. Climate patterns that farmers, animals, and entire civilizations depend on would break down. Some scientists believe that without the moon's stabilizing effect, parts of Earth could experience dramatic swings, extremely hot summers followed by brutally cold winters, over and over, with no steady pattern to rely on. This instability wouldn't just affect weather. Many animals rely on consistent seasons to know when to migrate, when to hibernate, and when to reproduce. A wobbling Earth would confuse these natural instincts that took millions of years to develop. How life on Earth would struggle to adapt. Let's go back to the ocean for a moment, because tides don't just move water, they shape entire ecosystems. Coral reefs, tide pools, and coastal habitats have developed over millions of years around a steady tide pattern. With weaker and less predictable tides, many of these ecosystems would slowly change. Species that depend on specific tide timing to feed or reproduce could decline, and that would affect the entire food chain above them, including the fish that humans eat. On land, farming would also become far more unpredictable. Farmers today plan planting and harvesting around fairly stable seasonal patterns. If seasons became extreme and unpredictable due to Earth's wobble, entire harvests could fail without warning. This could lead to food shortages in various parts of the world at different, unpredictable times, making it much harder for countries to prepare in advance, the way we can somewhat predict droughts or heavy rain seasons today. There's also something we don't often think about: how much human history and culture is tied to the moon. Calendars, religious festivals, ocean navigation, and even bedtime stories have been shaped by the moon for thousands of years. Without it, We wouldn't just lose a physical object in the sky, we'd lose a piece of human culture that has existed since the beginning of civilization. Ancient sailors used the moon and its light to navigate the oceans at night. Farmers for centuries planted crops based on moon phases. Entire calendars, like the Islamic calendar, are based directly on the moon's cycle. A world without the moon would need to rebuild systems that took thousands of years to create. Could life survive long-term? So, with all of this chaos, could life on Earth actually survive without the moon? The honest answer is, probably yes, but it would be a very different Earth than the one we know today. Life is incredibly adaptable. Over enough time, thousands or even millions of years, ecosystems could slowly adjust to weaker tides, less moonlight, and even a wobbling tilt. Species that couldn't adapt might go extinct, while new ones would evolve to fit the new conditions. This isn't just imagination. Scientists study similar situations on other planets. Mars, for example, has 2 tiny moons that barely affect it, and its tilt is far less stable than Earth's, causing extreme long-term climate swings over millions of years. In a way, studying a moonless Earth helps scientists understand what other planets, and possibly other worlds that could support life, might really be like. In fact, the moon isn't going anywhere, but it is slowly moving away from Earth, drifting about 3.8 centimeters further every single year. Billions of years from now, this slow drift will change our tides and nights in a very, very gradual way, nothing sudden, nothing dramatic within a human lifetime. Closing. So the next time you glance up and see the moon hanging quietly in the night sky, remember, it's not just decoration. It's holding our tides steady, keeping our seasons balanced, and guiding countless creatures through the night. It's one of the quietest, most powerful forces shaping life on Earth. If this video made you look at the moon differently, hit subscribe for more What If Science videos exploring the hidden forces that shape our world. And let me know in the comments, what other everyday object in space should we imagine disappearing next?